It's Saturday the 4th of April 2020, and yesterday HS2 Ltd decided during the height of the COVID 2020 lockdown that it was absolutely essential for them to evict 6 people who had been living up those trees behind me. Those people obviously have been up there they've been under siege for 9 days, where HS2 Ltd had tried to starve them out, weakened immune systems, and at a time at which we've been told that there will be no evictions, at the time at which the company had said that they had ceased all enforcement visits 3 days before they started this one, at a time at which we've been told that only essential work will take place. HS2 Ltd took it upon themselves, as the rogue organisation that they have always been, to evict 6 people living up those trees behind me on Friday. And on a Saturday, they've continued their supposed essential work, and they've started cutting down some of the trees that you can't see there, because they've started cutting them down. And this is just it's not unbelievable to me, because I've been dealing with HS2 for 10 years, and I know very well that they are a rogue organisation that can, at the heart of government, that can get away with anything because they've been allowed to get away with anything, because it's not about building a train, it's about land and money and land, about propping up a couple of firms in the construction industry that would have keeled over without HS2. And at this point in time, that doesn't really seem like it should be a priority to me, to many people, to everybody, because there's just so many things wrong with this project. But at this point in time, you've got to think, well, hang on, you know what? All the things that those people who were against HS2 were saying, that in the future we might not need to travel so much because video conferencing, well, it's a lot better than you thought. You're sort of realising that now, aren't you? That working from home, all right, not when you've got all the kids with you constantly, but working from home with the technology is perfectly feasible. The need for travel is going to decline. Yesterday, the AA specifically said that one thing that will come out of the COVID-19 crisis is that there will be a fundamental shift in travel patterns. So the entire business case for HS2, and remember, it's meant to provide a revised business case before it gets notice to proceed, but the entire business case for building HS2, which was built on lies to start off with, is now even weaker, because we know that in the future people will realise that they don't have to travel so much. And quite frankly, a scheme that only got the go-ahead because there were a lot of rich lobbyists who wanted to make sure they got their slice of the pie, and there were a few firms that may or may not donate to certain political parties who needed the money because they were going to go under. Well, I think now there's a lot of firms, a lot of people, a lot of individuals, a lot of families who will need that money a lot more than those construction firms. And do you really want HS2 to be this millstone where the costs keep going up and we keep seeing those people who will fall between the cracks, complaining that their lives have been destroyed financially by the fact that there isn't enough money to support them, when we can still just throw money at HS2, which was weak before and is even weaker now. The other thing that happened yesterday was Chris Packham was fighting for an injunction yesterday to try and make sure that these trees didn't get cut down, because he was going to hold a judicial review to say, well, hang on, the decision on HS2 was wrong, because like Heathrow, it shows contempt to the climate change targets that we have. And just here you can see, just at the top of the hill, that HS2's environmental statement, and then their environmental case, shows that the project isn't going to achieve carbon neutrality even after 120 years. But here you can see that even that statement was over optimistic, because at the top of the hill there you've got a compound that's not meant to be there, that wasn't in the environmental statement. The impact of it wasn't in the environmental statement. In fact, the environmental statement said that it was going to be a site of woodland planting, but it's actually a construction compound. And the great side of that is that they laid a non-permeable membrane at the top of the hill, and when it rains, that bridleway behind me becomes a stream. It doesn't have to be heavy rain, just any rain, and that entire field just empties out onto this. But what happened in that court case? Well, the judges basically said that the cost of stopping work on HS2 would be greater than the cost of losing the ancient woodlands that they supposedly need to cut down right now. Needing to cut down is a great phrase, because what they need to do is cut down a load of ancient woodlands in nesting season. The Woodland Trust, say that everything they're doing is an example of worst practice. The RSPB said that they're clearly going to cut down trees in nesting season with nesting birds in them, which is a crime, and they encourage people to report those crimes. But with the lockdown and with a handy High Court injunction on most of the land where those woodlands are, HS2 will be able to get away with those crimes without any witnesses whatsoever. And that is why they are pressing ahead with this work so virulently, because they know, they see HS2, see COVID-19 as an opportunity to get as much work done as possible, to cut down as many trees with nesting birds in them as possible, while there can't be any witnesses, while the police are issuing COVID-19 notices to professional journalists standing on their own in a field trying to film cherry pickers taking people out of trees, cherry pickers with people in them and around them, ignoring the COVID-19 guidance, but saying a person in the field has to go home because of COVID-19. Sorry, Warwickshire Police, you've really dropped the ball there. You've shown which side you're on, because every day we see people in that compound, or the campers see people in that compound, the people who are filming see people in that compound, and the compounds around us, that have no interest whatsoever in the COVID-19 restrictions. And as we said months ago, they're creating a perfect incubation, weeks ago I should say, a perfect way of incubating COVID-19 and passing it on to rural communities with high percentages of elderly residents. And you know why they do that? Because they don't care. Because they've never cared. Because they've always been allowed to get away with anything. An organisation found guilty of maladministration, an organisation that has never been fit for purpose, that has always been about making money and getting land. And that's why the judges said, well, the cost of stopping is far greater than the cost of the irreplaceable ancient woodland that would be lost, that will be lost. And it's just amazing when you think about that. Hang on, well, the cost of stopping is too great, but isn't all non-essential work meant to be stopping? How's cutting down trees essential work? I know. I can ramble quite a bit, and I think I've rambled a lot now, and I simply, I've spent 10 years of my life exposing the massive fraud that HS2 is. The whole case for this thing has been made up. This is a project that has only ever got this far because of lobbying. And seriously, now when there is actually a national health pandemic, they are still breaking the rules, because that's all they've ever known how to do, is break the rules. And when the dust settles on this thing, when the dust settles on the crisis that we're in at the moment, people are not going to realise, hang on, we can't afford to lose things like this. We can't afford to spend the money on things like HS2. Why? Why on earth did you not see that, Boris? I've said before that this can be a millstone round Prime Minister's neck. And it will be. Because the costs will keep going up and the money won't be there for other things. And there's so much more that is worthwhile than HS2. Just look around me. This is what we need. Not a fast train for fat cats, party donors, and fraudsters. This is what we need. Only a fool can't see that.